So I think it's time we close the book on this Howa Outlier build. Let's get into it. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Shoot More. If you're new, welcome. If you've seen some of the other videos, you're not yet subscribed, go ahead and hit that button down below. Before we get into the status update of the Howa and Outlier build, I just want to officially announce Shoot More website is live. This is something that I've been working on for a couple months now. It's taken way more effort than I thought, even just to get it to this point. So it is not complete by any way, shape, or form, but it is live. So link in description, go check that out. You guys might have noticed we've had stickers on like mags and scopes on some of the rifles over the last couple months. Well, these are on the website and they are for sale. Some of you guys have been asking how you can support me. I don't like the idea of doing like memberships, but you know, we'll sell some products. I'm going to start with stickers, work the kinks out. I've got these in hand already. So if you're interested, go ahead and head to the website and get your order in. Enough shilling for myself though. Let's go ahead and get into this Howa Outlier update. I'm going to TLDR this. I think this is probably us closing the book on this build. But before we kind of get into those specifics, for those that may be new to the channel and this is the first video that you're seeing, let's kind of recap from the beginning. So this started as a budget rifle build. We got a Howa 1500 barreled action and we put it in an Outlier chassis. I paid for everything myself. This was no brand collaboration, no discounts, no anything. Shot it for a while. The barreled action shoots really well for a factory barrel. The Outlier chassis, on the other hand, I was not a fan of. If you're interested, I'll go ahead and link, I think here, I'll link the video so you can actually go see that Outlier chassis review. But just some things to kind of recap. The rail, very flimsy. I don't like the 3D printed parts. The buttstock is miserably uncomfortable. And so that's kind of where we left things off. I had ordered an Outlier barrel for this. I kind of wanted it to be an Outlier build, you know. But one of the things that had kind of stuck with me from the comments on that chassis review video was one of the guys had mentioned that he had issues with how the action sat in the bedding block, for lack of a better term. I don't know what it's called, but that it was introducing some torque somehow. Tension's probably the better term. And the one thing that's always struck me as odd about putting this action into this chassis is any of my MDTs or the KRGs or really any of the other chassis or stocks that I've had, the action slides in, it makes good firm contact, and when you tighten the bolts up, there at no point does it start to feel like the action is getting pulled into the chassis. It just goes from loose bolt to tight bolt and there's no squish. It's just good firm lockup. That is not how this feels. When I go to install this action into this chassis, you start to install the action screws and you get to a point where they start to tighten down and it feels like the action is sucking into the chassis. Like there is a clear resistance. You get it tight enough and then the screws bottom out, everything's tight. I've tried multiple different ways of seating the action in the chassis. I've tried alternating how I tighten the bolts. It doesn't change anything. And this really kind of got me thinking about the guy's comment of, okay, what if this chassis is not milled correctly or it's just not the appropriate size for this action? How can you test that? Well, I needed to change the barrel anyway, and to do that I have an external action wrench. So I pulled the Picatinny rail off, installed the Outlier barrel, and I was getting ready to put the rest of the rifle back together since I had done the barrel swap. I had only put one screw back in this Picatinny rail. At this point, the rail, even with the one screw, was flush to the action. I then took the barreled action, I put it in the chassis, tightened it down, and wouldn't you know, there was a gap between the action and the Picatinny rail. And I go, that's odd, because in my mind, that's proving that something in this equation, whether it's the chassis, action, or a combination of both, is causing tension. Something's going on. Now what? I broke out my calipers. I ended up measuring the width of the chassis without the action in it. And then I measured the width of the chassis with the action installed, and it grew. It was larger with the action installed, albeit not much, a couple thousandths, I think, if I remember right, but it did grow, which means when this action is being inserted into this chassis, the cut in this chassis is not wide enough, and it is putting tension on the action, which is where all of this is coming from. This is evident by the markings on the action itself. You can actually see where it's rubbing against the chassis as it's being set into position. People spend a lot of money to make sure everything is true. You know, their actions are blueprinted, barrels are headspaced correctly. All of these very, very small measurements matter to a lot of people, especially when you're chasing a precision standard. And that's kind of what led me to the next question of, in my mind, tension being introduced into the action can't be good, right? Does it matter? The only real way I had to test this was to shoot it. So I loaded up some 6 Creed ammo. I referenced a Hornady reloading manual. I went 2 grains under max, so it was a pretty mild load. With a couple rounds in hand, my newly barreled rifle, it's not how it sits currently. I've actually since changed it back, but I did have a suppressor on it as well, and the Outlier barrel was a 26-inch 1.2 bull barrel profile. So that's important. Significantly more weight than what I was used to and what I had shot this setup as previously. I set it on the ground on a bipod and the barrel was bouncing because there was so much flex in this forearm. I go, that's weird, but continue with my business. Get on the ground, get on the gun, get the rifle zeroed, and then proceed to shoot. I've got the target behind me. 1, 2, 3, 4 groups. So this was 5, 10, 15, 20. First 26 shots of the barrel, period. Every group was under 1 inch at 100 yards. I have to give Outlier credit. The barrel shot very well. No load workup. Shooting, I think they're 108 grain. I can't see the box. I think they're 108 grain ELDMs. And the barrel shot sub MOA with a less than stable platform. I don't know that I have anything bad to say about the barrels. I think they are a good value. I think the one caveat to that is the barrel nuts suck. And I'm not the only person that has that opinion. They're very flimsy, and I think the barrel nuts could be a better design. Anyway, that was kind of a tangent. Tidbit information for you. If you're looking for information on Outlier barrels, I think they're pretty good. Are they equivalent to a hand-spun barrel from a top-level gunsmith? No, they're not. But I don't need them to be. Anyway, I digress. We kind of swerved there a little bit. Back to the rifle itself. The entire time I'm shooting these groups, I'm not focusing on what I'm doing as a shooter. The only thing I can think is, man, I hate shooting this rifle. This chassis is not fun. It's not comfortable. All I have done is made it worse by adding a thicker profile barrel and a can on the front of it. It's just too much weight for what this thing is. So for a couple days after that outing, I was just thinking, what do we do, right? I don't like shooting this rifle. Based on the target, the issue with the chassis interfering the action, at least for this platform, is not probably an issue in terms of accuracy or precision accuracy. I don't remember the difference. I should know. I'm going to look that up now because it's going to bother me. The rifle shoots well enough that I'm not concerned about the tension that's being input into the action causing a degradation in performance. I still don't like it. That also raises the question though, is it the chassis or is it the action? I think it's more likely that the chassis is out of spec if we're being honest, but I don't have another Howa action to test. So how do we go forward? And that's kind of the question that I've been thinking about. To be perfectly honest with you, when I started brainstorming this video, my original intention was to ask you all your thoughts and opinions on how we proceeded. I think I've answered that question for myself. I'm not looking for a lightweight hunting rifle. I think that's really where a chassis like this, it would thrive. It just doesn't have the structure to operate as a heavy target rifle, and that's really what I'm after. I do think instead of spending additional money trying to turn this into something that it's not, I'm going to put it up for monetary exchange through legal avenues. I think it would be really cool to kind of have a test rifle, you know? I've wanted to build a precision-based gasser. I also kind of want a lower budget rimfire rifle. I think that is the point that we're at. I'm going to go ahead and close the book on this project. This will be the final video in the Howa Outlier series. I appreciate you guys watching. I know the videos have kind of been a little bit more spaced out here recently, but I have a backlog list of videos that I'm super pumped to film. I mentioned that we got a suppressor. If you guys follow me on Instagram, you already know about that. But that video is hopefully going to start getting filmed this weekend. Never shooting a break again. At least for right now. That's how I feel. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being here. Thanks for the support over the last year. Actually, oh my gosh. I didn't even realize it. So, wow. This is 1 year. Beginning of November. 1 year ago today, I decided when I was doing my first iteration of the RimX build, I was like, I'm going all in on YouTube, because I was kind of hit back and forth up until that point. I'd make a video and then I wouldn't post for like 8 weeks. I said, I'm going to do this series. I'm going to hype it up. I'm going to pour everything that I've got into it, and if it hits and it starts to do well, then I'm going to go forward with it. It's been a year, guys. Wow. That's crazy. Well, thank you again for your support. I appreciate it more than you guys know. Everybody that takes time to comment and reach out to me, whether that's through email, social media, whatever. It means a lot that you guys are here supporting the channel, that you've supported me this far, and I'm really looking forward to what this next year, looking forward, has in store for us. So thanks again, and I will catch you guys next time.